let's learn about various data types. Let's talk about data types in Excel and why they're important. This file is a great example because it contains all sorts of data types. There's text, there's numbers, there's dates. Excel does a really good job at figuring out what data type to use when you are entering data into a cell. For example, if I type a word, I'll type a word and hit the tab key, it's left aligned. This is telling me that it's just treating it as a text string, but watch what happens when I put in a number. I'll hit the enter key and the text stays to the right. That's how Excel knows that it's a number or value field. And by that, I mean could be a date, an integer, a time, a currency, any sort of value that's not a straight text field. And the reason it's important is because it's going to decide what kind of formula or function you can do on that cell. For example, if I move over to the Formulas ribbon tab, there's all sorts of financial functions that we can do. There's functions that you can do on text, that is to transform text directly in a cell. You can do calculations based on date and time cells, but it needs to know what is what. Let's take a look at these date cells. You can enter dates in different ways. For example, I can type this. It's right aligned, and if I go over to the formula bar, I can see that it is, in fact, a date. Depending on what locale you are set to, Excel will adjust this date accordingly. For example, it may swap these two values. I can also write a time, and again, it's right aligned. And if I go to the formula bar, here I can see that it's a time. You can choose and format the type of data cell that you want. I'm going to click and drag and highlight these three fields, which are clearly currency. If I go back to the Home ribbon tab, here in the middle of the ribbon tab, I can see where I can set the data type. It's set to general right now, but I can click this button and set it to currency. In fact, I can even click the drop down and choose what kind of currency I want. I can even choose more accounting formats and get more options. It does default to whatever locale I use. In fact, I can click this drop down and change between currency and accounting, which is much more formal and standard. I can even format the way it looks. For example, I can increase or decrease the amount of decimals that it uses. I can set all of these cell formats and I can do it per cell, per column or row, whatever is going to work for me to do the type of calculations that I need. For example, this cell is reporting the days since the gift card was issued. It's a simple formula that's calculating today's date and subtracting it from the value in this cell when the gift card was issued, and these are the types of calculations you can do when you have the type properly set. So always be on the lookout in the back of your mind when something doesn't look right. For example, I'm entering a time and I'll hit the enter key, but however, it's left aligned. That's because it didn't quite recognize that I was putting in a time. Although if I had put a space in there and I hit the enter key again, this time it figures it out and it adjusts accordingly. Now, let's learn about formulas and functions. You can create your own formula to perform Excel calculations. You can also use a built-in Excel function. If you are following along with the exercise files, you'll want to start here on the formulas sheet below. To get started creating formulas, place your cursor in the cell. And you always start with an equal sign. This tells Excel that you are building a formula. You can reference a different cell by either clicking on it with your mouse. Here, I can see that it's highlighted and cell A3 is in blue because it was calculated programmatically. I can always type my equal sign and just put in the cell itself. For example, A3. Excel will automatically highlight it, which is a great visual cue for me to know that I've got the right cell. I can hit the enter key and there's my calculation. It doesn't matter if it's a number or if it's text. For example, I'll put in my word apples. And now, I'll change this to the value of cell B1. It even knows it's text. Remember, it's left aligned like text, whereas before, it was right aligned. We can also do calculations. I'll put in my equal sign. I'm looking for cell A1 minus cell A2. I'll hit the enter key. And there's my value. And here, we'll use a built-in Excel function. Now, this one's a little different because I need the name of the function. And then, what's inside of it is always going to be between an open and closed parenthesis. We still start with our equal sign. We always start with that. And now, I'm going to use the function sum. So I'll type that in. And as soon as I put in my open parentheses, Excel is going to open up some helper text. It's telling me what parameters that function needs. For example, it needs all of the numbers separated by commas. What I'm going to do is click and drag to select all the numbers that I want to calculate. This is one way that I could do it. I'll put in my closed parentheses. And the colon in between means that it's doing a block. That is, a range of numbers, cell a 1 drop a 5. I'll hit the enter key. And here's my sum. If I wanted to do an entire column, I could just click column A. I'll click the whole heading. And this one looks a little bit different, as you can see. It's an A with a colon and another A. That means the entire column. I'll put in my closed parentheses, hit enter. And again, there's my value. And I can always put in different numbers. For example, I can always just sum cell a 1. I'll separate them with a comma like it needs. And cell a 2. So I'll put in a 1 my first number. And cell a 2 is my second one. I don't need to know what those values are. I only need to know where they are. I'll hit enter. And there's my sum. If we head over to the Formulas tab, here is Excel's built-in function library. For example, we can look at these text functions. We don't need to do functions on just numbers. We can absolutely do them based on text strings. If I hover my mouse over every one, it's going to tell me what it does. I can do calculations on dates, times, money, currency, everything. There's an extensive library. The most commonly used ones, however, are over here on the right side of the Home tab, and I'm going to be going over those next. So if you are ready to take your skills to the next level and unlock the full potential of your data, subscribe to my channel today. I can't wait to see you on the next video.